Welcome back to the channel, and today we have a special guest tuning in, and we don't really need an introduction, but I want to introduce him. We got the man, the myth, the legend, Andy Ellis on today. So welcome, Andy, to the channel here. Happy to have you, man. Thanks for joining in. If you want to give yourself a short introduction to the viewers out there, who you are, what you're about, and yeah, take it away.
Thanks so much for having me on. I really do appreciate it. And it's always a great time being able to chat with more creators in the space. But I'm Andy. I create crypto, NFT, mostly content focused on the branded licensed IP. Outside of that, I do a lot of things in the business world, and I'm currently doing marketing and business for university as well. But the videos that I love to focus on anyway are about VeVe as of right now, HRO, those sort of areas anyway. And I'm really, really excited to talk with you further with everything that's been going on.
Absolutely, man. You've been crushing it this past year, in school, college, and or as you call it, uni. It's like the global audience there, which is amazing, man. That's you've literally been an inspiration, I think, to a lot of people out there, in my opinion. I know people don't really say it often because they're just watching your videos, but in my head, like as putting myself in other people's shoes, like that's pretty inspiring. Like if I was, especially younger too, like looking at your videos, I would be aspiring not only to be a content creator, but to freaking knock it out in uni and college, man. So hats off to you, what you're doing. And man, that's it. Yeah, absolutely. So with that being said, tell me a little bit, like obviously we have a ton of VeVe viewers, so we're going to get into that. We'll get into a little bit of Web3 on the back end, but tell me about how you kind of found VeVe, or what really got you interested in projects like VeVe, HRO, and all these other projects. And yeah, if you want to talk about the kind of your beginning journey and everything like that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, interestingly enough, actually, I've never collected anything in my life before VeVe, not one thing. So for some of the OGs back in the day, they'll remember a YouTuber called Niall Ballantyne, who was creating videos on VeVe,
Yeah.
discussing, the Ecomi token itself, OME, what they were wanting to do, how VeVe were going to move forward. And he really went in depth with everything. And Niall was actually the one who introduced me. I personally know Niall from school. He's been one of my closest friends on the internet for a long while now. And he actually introduced me to what it was. So I originally got started through him. Done a little bit more of my own research, got really, really excited about everything that VeVe and Ecomi as a team were working on. And that's when I got hooked. Back in, I think it was the 3rd of April, 2021 was when I first started my account on VeVe. And after that, I started going for every drop. I traded constantly. I had a massive addiction, too big of an addiction. I was in the gym, in between each set, I was like bidding on the auction market. It was so sad. It was so sad because I had my home gym in my garage due to COVID. Obviously, I couldn't go to the gym. So after every set, I was on my phone trying to get these auctions. But that all started through Niall telling me a little bit more about it. I'd been in crypto a little bit, wasn't anything special. And then he started to tell me a little bit more about branded and licensed IP with NFTs, what they were a little bit more. That's when I started to do my research, and that's what sort of kept me going the last, year and a half, near enough, into where we are today.
Man, that's very cool. Yeah, I remember Niall. Is it Niall how you say it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember him, man. And both of you guys kind of like, yeah, you guys like just started getting all these subscribers, man. It was really cool watching that. And man, it's been a journey ever since. Did you think that VeVe was gonna just blow up like wild like that, or what was your thoughts on that? Like from now till then, obviously we're in a bear market now, but like
Of course.
in terms of how fast the app grew or where you continue to see it grow. But did you expect that when you kind of joined, or were you just kind of like, man, I'm going to flip up and make some money here? Or were you just thinking like, this is just fun? Like, what was your thoughts in the beginning?
When I first joined, it was really about the excitement of being able to make real money with trading. So in the past, I was a massive FIFA player. That was my childhood. I loved trading on FIFA, and the FIFA marketplace has always been really, really good. And this was my first opportunity to ever actually make money, real money, with trading the same way you usually would on FIFA, because you'd find things that are lower mints. So on FIFA, it would be a better rating, a special card, and then you'd be able to undercut it and try to get it for a lower price to sell on for more. So in the beginning, it was really just a fun experiment of finding this app that I could make money on, whilst also just enjoying that I knew what they were. Because obviously, if you go into the NFT market, there's a lot of projects there that you just have no idea what they're about. but at least I understood Batman. At least I understood DC was there. Ultraman, all that sort of stuff were coming to the forefront. So I knew it existed and I knew it was branded and it was actually partnered with them. And then once we got a little bit further on, that was maybe like April to June, July time. Even at that time, I never expected VeVe to do what they done. You know, and they announced to Disney, I think it was, what was it, September, round about that time, if I'm not
So,
mistaken.
yeah, I was right around there. Yeah.
And then also, you know, Marvel bringing in Spider-Man for the first time. And then you have the January pump, obviously, where everything rocketed to absolutely crazy measures. I never ever expected it to reach that so quickly, because when I'd first initially joined and when I first started creating, my thought was minimum 5 years, you know, minimum 5 years to be here. Tech companies take a long time to actually develop themselves. It's also in a market where the majority of people still think NFTs as a whole, every single one of them are scams. And I do understand that the majority of them have not the best foundational structures, but there are going to be those that will come out from the rubble that will be the true builders. And I think VeVe was always going to be one of those. Although they had problems, I always believed that to be the case, and I still do to this day. But no chance did I believe so quickly that they would be able to gain that amount of users, that amount of growth and prices of these collectibles, and then being able to maintain the core structure of the community that they still have to this day, even from the people who were back in, you know, 2020 when they first joined, and they're still here every single day tweeting, blows my mind. Absolutely blows my mind.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Man, it's cool to see you put out these videos too. Like, I guess in terms of like your mindset, how did you develop that? Because I you put out a lot of great content and provide a lot of insight that seems like really high level. And like typically you don't see that in kind of a younger content creator like yourself. Typically it takes a few years to put out that type of content or at least wrap your head around it before you start
Yeah.
really pushing that content like that. But I'm curious, how is it just from, maybe uni or like, were you always into kind of like business or what was like, how did you develop that type of mindset to put out videos like that?
So I actually had a YouTube channel prior to the crypto one that had started. And I know some people like it or hate it. It was on self development. That was what my channel was focused on. So I'd do certain challenges. I'd read a lot of articles to try to come to like a scientific conclusion. It was about sleep or the gym or habits. Habits are actually what I do outside of, you know, crypto, YouTube, and university. I run like a business where I teach people to build better habits for entrepreneurs to make them more money, save them more time. So for me, I am a very analytical person. That is something that I've always liked. I like to back up my points with data or history and try to make the most logical decision. And I think, especially when it comes to financial investments, most people are emotional. And that makes total sense because it's your money, it's your emotions you're playing with. If you were spending someone else's money, you'd most likely be more logical because you're trying to think about every single route to take. So for me, it really has come from a point of view of I'm going to make decisions that are going to be wrong, but as long as I can learn from them, as long as I can understand where the mistake was made, then in the future, when I try to talk about it a little bit more, I come at from a logical standpoint rather than an emotional one. Because we all make those mistakes, you know, we all have emotional mistakes that we make, and there's absolutely no denying this is the case. I'm going to be wrong at a lot of things. So are you. So is everyone else that they're going to do. I do think it just comes from action. You know, over time, you're going to take more action. Over time, you're going to do more things. The more action you take, the more you learn, the more experience you have, the better decision you're going to make. I think the problem most people do is that they speak about taking action, speak about it like they've took a lot of action and they haven't actually done anything. They haven't took any steps forward. They've just said they're going to do something. This is how things are going to go. But they don't actually back up what they're saying with their own action. And therefore, they don't learn from the experience because they haven't had it firsthand. And I think that was maybe the difference for me anyway that I see is that instead of just saying I'm going to do something, I'll say it, I'll take the action. I'll probably fail at it, but at least I'll learn from it to be able to make better decisions moving forward.
That's really amazing, man. That's an incredible story of self-development, you teaching it as well. I actually have a huge background in that in myself just from
Yeah.
learning. Like I just a little bit about myself is I grew up without pretty much a father. So, that was really big for me is kind of breaking out of that whole mold, if you will, because I was reading literally, if you're a young man or I guess, young boy in America, the statistics show if you don't have a dad, I think it's like the statistic is 70% of young males end up in juvenile hall. And I was like,
Right.
that is an obscene amount of like of juveniles going to the juvenile hall or whatever.
Yeah, yeah,
So I read that and I was like, man, I'm not trying to be a number here. Like I want to break through. Like how can I improve myself? How can I dedicate, 1 hour per day or 2 hours per day in
yeah,
developing my mindset, my beliefs and everything like that. And a lot of that, like, was self confidence too. So I was reading how to develop my self confidence. Like when I first started my YouTube channel, I was still struggling with that. I was still like, man, I don't know if I should put this video out. And I know a lot of creators out there, they do the same thing. And I tell them, you have to build up yourself. You have
yeah,
to,
yeah,
trust the process and just put it out and like you're just saying, taking action. And that's
yeah,
a lot of, a lot of the results come from that. So it's cool to hear you say you came from that and,
yeah.
had that channel and things like that. I think it's inspiring personally because people like me, man, like you don't have a lot of role models out there. You didn't like if I was younger and like I said, I mentioned earlier in the podcast here, like if I was younger watching your channel, I'd be like, bro, like that's it right there. Like that's what I'm doing. Um, so that's cool. In my, like maybe other people may disagree. I don't know. I don't know where people are at in their life. Maybe they had, raised by two parents, perfect lifestyle. Maybe that's not
Yeah.
you. Maybe you don't need that. But for me, I was all about that, baby. I was like, let's go, let's take action. And I was reading all the self-development books because I needed that. I didn't have any development in my life. I didn't
Yeah,
have no dad to sit here and say, son, this is what you do, XYZ. Like nobody was telling me that. So I had to go out there and get it. And so
exactly. Yeah,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
really inspiring as well because I've actually had a quite a extensive look at the differences that do happen in children when either parents are divorced or one is missing, and it really does go against them. Even an unstructured and not a solid duo of parents, if they are still together, the child is more likely to do better, even if they're still together. So missing one parent or having them fighting and all that sort of stuff really can make an impact on you. And I guess that's probably why we connect on such a good level. Unfortunately, when I was younger, my mum passed away from cancer. So I
Mm.
was missing another parent as
I'm sorry
well.
to hear. Yeah.
And that was able to develop me. And I think that's where we both probably get our I don't know, our
Yeah.
drive
Yeah.
to be better or to care about people in our life and to try to help others develop and grow themselves, because these are the things that give us power. These are the things that give us the most, responsibility of we need to take this into account. We need to take action rather than just waiting, because we understand, life can be taken in the blink of an eye. So you have to put yourself out there. You have to take that action. You have to live a life that you're proud to be. Because I think if I didn't, it would feel like a waste. It would feel like I've not used it to the best of my ability.
Yeah, yeah, that's amazing, man. And just to like even it's still in my like the back of my mind sometimes is like,
Mm,
there could be a young person watching my channel and I'm sure there is. It's just like they will look at me a certain way and probably, hopefully be inspired. And that's kind of the
yeah,
goal in the back of my mind of my channel is just to inspire, like simply lifting up others and things like that. I think that's super important. But yeah, like that's amazing, man, to hear that. But back to the VV topics at hand. We had that was a pretty good one right there, by the way.
that was
But
actually. I like it.
that's like not a smooth transition, I know, but maybe there'll be like self-development books on VV one day. I don't know. Or well, there is a book, so maybe there'll actually be a book we can read. But
Yeah,
we'll see. We'll see.
who knows?
Speaking of VV, yeah, like what's your like thoughts or I guess what's your kind of top picks? VV long term, top three, we'll say.
Oh, top three collectibles.
Yeah,
Are we
yeah.
adding comics in as well? Is comic or comics a
Let's
part of
start. Let's just start off with collectibles. Then we'll transition to maybe comics, and then we'll combine
it?
them.
Okay.
Yeah,
And are they the ones that I have to own, or can it be anything?
it can be anything. Yeah, you don't have to own them. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So I would say the first one for me is the partner statue. That's
Mm, mm.
definitely up there. I think just the significance of it, Disney, and it, especially being in VeVe at that time, um, there was so much hype in the community, so much hype, and I didn't get partner statue on the drop. I had to buy it, but I sold my duplicate Todd and my duplicate Superman in order to get that. So it has a lot of sort of weight behind it. I was able to
Yeah,
purchase
yeah.
it for 2.2K, I think, at the time.
Oh,
Uh, and after, I think it was a 2 or 3 days later, it went to 8K. So for me, I sold Todd and Superman at the lowest they had been in months. And it was really hard to do, but to get it there was just a surreal feeling. So that story for me behind Walt is just so significant. The second one is one I don't have, and this is the Secret Rare Spider-Man. I've never had a Secret Rare Spider-Man. I think what Spider-Man represents just as a character, and I always love the story about Stan Lee talking about why he created Spider-Man, about how every child could believe that they are Spider-Man. He wanted to create a character where everyone, it didn't matter what they looked like underneath the suit, everyone could feel like they were Spider-Man. And I think just the story behind how he was created, the character himself, and especially now with a lot of kids who are continuing to grow up with the success of what Spider-Man has been able to hold, most successful superhero that there is in the world by far. I think just the story behind what Spider-Man is, that Secret Rare, is just a top level. And the third one, I'm having a real hard time deciding. I genuinely think it's between, for me, Todd and Darth Vader. Now, Todd has obviously had just so much significance of being the first on the platform, being the first Batman NFT, the first on VeVe itself, the first season on VeVe. There's so much behind it. And I've also got my first ever collectible, which is
yeah.
I've got two other boxes there of the unopened ones, but that's the first ever physical collectible I bought. So for me personally, when it comes to just the significance, it would be Todd, but I do believe Darth Vader's like that fourth, right behind, really close. But I'd be
Yeah.
interested to hear yours.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, obviously Todd,
Yeah.
I got Batman everywhere back here. I even have the new Batman back there too. Um, yeah, so that one for me, it just wraps up the importance, like you said, you just mentioned. I don't know if he's I mean, long term, I think number one, like if there was the additions like providing that there's less Todds, I would be super more bullish on him. I still am. I still think we're gonna see. I think people are consolidating Todds right now, and there's I think if the data showed, or if I would be able to look at how many wallet holders actually hold Todd, I think it'd be like roughly people own like at least two or like have two of them or something like that. Now I think, yeah, I don't know. So it's hard to say, but I'm still bullish on Todd in terms of that, just from the significance part, the history, Todd McFarlane, it's his first NFT anywhere technically. And just what it represents in the comic world too, with the Spawn type of homage and everything like that. First NFT on VeVe, first DC, like you know the story. So
Yeah.
I don't know if he would be like my number one would probably be, yeah, Spider-Man,
Yeah.
probably
Do you have one? Do
because
you have a secret
yeah,
there?
I do, yeah.
Oh, wow. I'm so
Yeah, I
jealous.
got it on the drop, and then
Oh,
yeah, it was like my first secret rare.
wow.
Like I snagged off of a drop in like ever maybe. Like I don't know the last time I snagged a secret rare other than like the golden bunny as well. But
Yeah.
I've had a terrible like drop success rate
Uh,
since VV blew up. So it is what it is. But anyways, yeah, I think I'm most bullish on that one. If I had Marvel Comics number one, I would be equally as bullish as well. But in terms of collectibles, I would say those two are at the top. Partners is up there. I don't own it. I don't have it as much as an emotional attachment there. I'm still bullish on it for people that have it
yeah.
because I grew up going to Disneyland quite often, so I knew immediately of the significance there. And obviously, I put out a couple of videos on that, and a lot of people were pushing back on that first video, a couple of videos I dropped on Gold Moments and Walt and Mickey, and so it was actually interesting to see people evolve a little bit and become actually bullish on the statue. And we had a lot of Disney folks move into the space. I think VV Magic and several others and things like that. Yeah, yeah. And so it's great to see that because that's kind of what I think we all expected when Disney was announced. But
Definitely.
so the significance of that is huge too, especially in, that's like, I don't know if we would have like all this entertainment we have today and they bought Star Wars and have all this IP and brand. So it's like it all started with the mouse, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that's really huge. And then another one I really like is I would say Superman because I think
Okay.
we had the Ray Fixie bull run last year.
Yep.
I think is what we would call that. I'm still bullish on Superman. I think he was actually one of my favorite superheroes. Batman was first, Superman was second.
Uh-huh.
What he represents as well, it's like that just super strength. It's like
Yeah.
it is much harder to relate, but at the same time, it's like you still want to be him. It's like
Yeah. Yeah.
it's still motivating to see something like that in a superhero. But I would say Superman. I'm still bullish on him. Those are just probably my favorites, and I think that's
Yeah.
what makes Vivi kind of unique. Is like everybody's gonna have like their opinions and things like that.
Exactly.
Some people are bullish on other collectibles out there, but I think those are my favorites right there. So
Yeah. Yeah. Love it.
yeah, what about you, comic wise?
Comics are a little bit harder. I've not got the knowledge, that Sean's sleeping in that do.
Yeah, me either. Me either.
I'm nowhere near their standard. One of the times I made a video on comparing Star Wars Comic One with Doctor Strange, and I didn't realize that Doctor Strange had, like two in the market of circulation, and Star Wars had about 1,000 at 9.8 grading. So I'm definitely not the best when it comes to that. I do understand the significance of the first of the comics. There's one I
Yeah.
do own that I've had and I got on the drop and I've still kept to this day, and it's the Spider-Man one. That was the first secret rare comic I ever got. I've
Mm,
still kept it to this day, and I'm still holding it. I still love it. And then
yeah.
Marvel Comics one is obviously like it's the grail of the grail. It's not the most it's not the most expensive in the world. Action Comics one's the most expensive, and then Amazing Fantasy, if I'm not mistaken, or is
Yeah, I
Marvel
think
Comics
so.
one the top? Can't remember
Um,
exactly what is the
there's a
top of
few.
the top.
I'm not like I don't keep track of those prices. I just know like
Right.
those are like grails.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure Action Comics one is the top, and then Amazing Fantasy 15 is the second, and I'm sure Marvel's Comics is up there somewhere. But yeah, those two for me are like the big significant ones. Again, Sleeping and Sean, they would both be way better at describing the best comics from their opinion. But is there any that stand out to you that are really up there?
Yeah, I think the obviously Marvel Comics number one.
Yeah, yeah.
Then there's like you mentioned, Star Wars number one's one of my probably my favorites. I actually almost bought that before it even dropped on VeVe, and I wish I did. Yeah, I wish I did because I think it like doubled in price. I like in the physical world. But yeah, that's like one of my favorites.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's hard to say. Like, I'm not like a big guru. I can't like just like at the top of my head name off the names of all of them. But I think there's what is it the Ghost Rider? That one's a pretty
Oh
good
yeah, yeah.
one. I think it's up there in like top 10 world. I don't know if it's like the best, but I think AF-15 probably is coming now. Like I would say that's like way up there as
That
well.
is definitely,
Yeah, so yeah, in terms of comics, it seems like there's a lot to choose from. So, but
definitely
I
is.
think the ones that are most significant are probably still yet to be dropped, or the AF-15 or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
That David you mentioned in the last podcast that may be coming.
If that drops,
He basically said it was coming. I mean,
yeah,
yeah.
it's just
I
I
would
can't wait for
love,
it.
yeah, no, I would love to see, DC Comics on there. So
Yes.
I think Palm, obviously they're dropping the first ever DC comic with the Batcow thing.
Uh-huh.
But still, like if you look at it in terms of Marvel and how Marvel's done it, just because you drop something later doesn't mean it's still not going to be valuable. It's still that
Right.
title, that cover is
Yeah,
still
yeah.
going to carry that weight. So I think in terms of that, I think we could still see comics on VeVe and they mentioned other comics as well. But I know that's like off topic, but I don't know. There's just a lot to choose from on the comics, and I'm not an expert either.
Yeah.
What I do is I just literally do my research on each cover, and I'm still
Yeah, that's
learning. And really, it's this past year's been the first time I've ever actually bought comics, and things
uh-huh.
like that. I've read them. My buddy had stacks of them, all like the what if stuff, and he had like a stack of like all the Infinity Wars or whatever
Okay.
with Thanos. So I actually read through all of those, and actually Marvel put those movies out, and I was like, yo, like
Wow.
I connected deep with that whole movie and series and everything, but.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah. So that I guess that's my
That's
thoughts on the
amazing.
comics.
That's amazing. Again, it's like, you have that emotional side to what they are and what they represent, and why we had spoken about how VeVe is so different. Because although you definitely can have an emotional side to the Bored Ape, you can, and you can build that up. I think there's just a different feeling of getting characters from games you've played as a kid, movies you've watched, movies you continue to watch, comic books you've read. And even for me personally, I've never read a comic book in my life other than on VeVe. I've read Marvel's Comic 1, and I read Amazing Spider-Man 1, just to see what they were like. But it is that difference, the emotional side that VeVe can bring compared to basically any other project that isn't licensed by things you've seen in your past, because that emotional side is a really, really big driver for a lot of people when making decisions about what they want to buy, what they want to keep, what they want to have to represent who they are as people.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And that can be good, and it's also can be bad if you're like
Yeah.
trying to flip up, which I fell into that trap in January, is like getting super attached to everything. Like I'm not selling anything. And then it's kind of designed that way, right? The
Yeah,
gamification in
yeah.
VV, the Master Collectors Program. And so it definitely is a trade-off. It's like, do I sell this, but I'm attached to it and there's Master Collectors points?
Yeah.
Or do I, get the gems and keep, flipping up and keep
Yeah, yeah.
investing? And you have to consider both, and sometimes you do have to trade off a little bit there. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So what about HRO? Are you still collecting over there, or what's your thoughts on all the other platforms popping up? Are you doing anything over there, HRO, back cows, or anything like that?
Yeah, Hero, I'm still trying to complete the full set, the hybrid set. I'm trying to find good deals in the market. I'm trying to just trade my little bit way up there. I've got the majority of them from the packs I was able to open. There's just a few I'm still missing, and I want to get, lower scores. But I've been taking kind of a step back from everything and more so doing more research, because what I was finding was when I was getting more into these different projects out with the VeVe, there was a lot of things I still didn't understand in regards to Web3, in regards to what they were building, in regards to just how they were functioning. And because I'd been in VeVe for so long, you do kind of get that tunnel vision of this is how it works, this is how they do it. But a lot of other companies do it differently. I didn't personally get into back kills. It wasn't something that made me extremely excited. It was made for massive DC fans. And
Mm.
although I believe I'm a DC fan, I enjoy the movies. I'm not a comic book collector. I don't go to events that DC have held and all that sort of stuff. So I didn't actually get involved with those, but I did research them, and I did really enjoy the way the community was feeling. It's just one of those areas right now, because of the market that we are in. My focus has been just trying to educate myself further. I've not been putting a lot of money into new projects. I've not been putting a lot of money anywhere, to be honest with you. I've been sort of stacking as much cash as I can to be able to put it into when I believe the bottom is coming, because I don't believe we have reached it just yet. I'm going to be DCAing into most of the projects that I believe in fully, and usually the bigger coins and the bigger places over the next maybe year to 2 years, depending on the way the world moves, because I just don't see us being in that front. So yeah, for me, it's mostly been on the educational front rather than the investment front. But what about yourself? Have you been looking into more of them? Have you been analyzing it further? What have you been thinking?
Yeah, yeah. I think I've taken a step back from like just actively like trading, flipping, and just buying new stuff all the time. Um, just like as you mentioned, I think that we're not at the bottom, and I think we could go definitely further.
Yeah, yeah,
And same thing there, just like accumulating cash or looking for like good little deals here and there. Not doing too much because you can get too involved in that and actually lose a
yeah,
little bit if you're not careful. So I try to just do things like very methodically, slow, and
uh-huh.
just kind of move like that. So yeah, but I think I bought like in the macro, I bought Neo Tokyo Citizen 2 or a season 2 outer
Nice.
because they were like at like 6 or 8 ETH
Yeah,
and like in the bull run or maybe even more. I think they even went up to like 10 at one point, 10 ETH,
wow.
and I bought a high allocation S2 outer for like 1 ETH, which I mean
Wow.
ETH was at like 1K like a
Yeah,
couple
yeah,
weeks ago or whatever. So it's like that was a steal right there.
yeah,
But
for sure.
so I'm still bullish on the blue chips, not only in VV but in the macro NFT space
Wicked.
as well. Like you said, researching some of these projects and what they're about, and some of them what they're like about, but you can tell that they're gonna fail, and like
Yeah, yeah,
realizing they're NFT projects disguised as like startups, and it's like, yeah, they're gonna. I mean, most of these projects don't have the teams behind them to really, they don't have the experience to know how to navigate an actual business or even a DAO. Like a DAO is a new structure of a business, basically. But it's even harder to navigate a DAO than it would be even just a traditional business, in my opinion, because there's so many unknowns. Like, how do you set up multi-sig? How do you do all of this? How do you do the
Yeah.
voting? And then there's all these like internal politics. So I think in terms of like that, I think there's just not a lot of teams out there that really will know what they're doing, and they'll just ultimately fail. And we're seeing a lot of that play out. Not only due to the bear market, but just because there's just a lack of experience, and what
Yeah.
we see is they like either slow rug or they'll just completely outright rug. And so,
Just exit scam.
yeah,
You're
yeah, is
right,
it?
though. You're right. This is going to be seen. I think we're going to see a lot more of that over the next few years. Companies are now being caught up on with the law because they haven't built it out well enough. And again, that comes through experience. That comes through the teams that are part of it. And that's why I've still been so excited about what VeVe are doing. When I first came in here, it was a minimum 5-year project because I know tech companies, if we can call them a tech company, I know there's different angles that they could be, but they do take a long time to develop, and it's not easy. There's a lot of roadblocks in the way, and I think because it isn't such a new market of NFTs and collectibles in this instance of digitally, it is going to require a lot of money, a solid team with experience, whose project can't actually be replicated that easily. So as you said, I think it's really, really important to do your research on the outside to see how teams usually run. There's one that I'd actually decided to buy on the sort of macro scale, and it was the Gents Croquet Club. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, from Ayman Gadzi. So he's ran this group of, I think there's maybe 700 people, where they discuss, the NFT market, the crypto market, and it's really about bringing really successful people together. Now, I'm nowhere near the level of success that they're all at, but for something, being able to surround yourself with other people who are smarter than you, that to me was worth the investment, rather than, choosing random companies here and there that I think will be able to make it out of the bear market, and rather focus on building the network around people who know how to build, who have the experience of development, who have been through the recessions, who know what decisions to make, during these times. I felt for me that was the better decision to make in the short term, to work more for the long term anyway.
Yeah, that's really good. I mean, yeah, I mean, this space isn't going away, but projects will come and go. But
Yeah, yeah,
all in all, like NFT technology, it's only going to increase. Brands and companies are only going to figure out more ways to really utilize NFTs, not only just
yeah,
for, collectibles, but as obviously the buzzword of utilities. And
yeah,
but even more so, I think that there's just a lot of things that are unexplored yet that we have yet to be seen with NFTs. But I think brands will naturally come up with ways and things like that. But
yeah,
yeah, just as you said, like if you're like head down in the bear, just learning, grinding, and connecting, networking, I think that's super important because the next bull run and you're connected, like you can do a lot with that. Not only like, getting a job, or maybe you want to start consulting people, or maybe you just want to grow your network and you want to grow your channel more. Like there's just an infinite amount of possibilities. And yeah, this space just isn't going anywhere. We're seeing games being built in the bear, and a lot of games are like in beta and about to launch. So it's pretty exciting to
yeah.
see all that play out. And speaking of which, where do you see like kind of the future? Like, we'll start off with the VV verse. Like, what do you see it as there? And then we'll get into more of the macro after that.
Yeah. Uh, Depending on the timescale you're looking at, I don't really see the VeVe being anything that's um, mind blowing. I don't think it's going to be maybe what people are thinking, where you'll go into the VeVe and then everything's there and you can do a lot of things in it. I think it really is going to start just simple, the way everything else has, where you can see your collectibles inside this VeVe. You can maybe interact with people who are in there. You can have your own house, your own space. I don't think we're going to see those real life changing things for the next few decades.
Yeah.
Being able to actually experience yourself in AR, VR, really virtually experience being a part of that. So for me, the VeVe is just an addition rather than something that I think will be winner or this is what's going to make VeVe stand out. I don't see it being that personally, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on that front and how you feel in that.
Yeah, I think that they have something cooking on the back end, and they're still trying to work it out. And I'm sure that it's like a legal hurdle to some degree with all these IPs like just thrown in there.
Yeah.
I think they'll expand upon the showroom idea and just make it better in a place where you can hang out. I don't know if you've seen actually Virtua, which is something that Terra Virtua, like it's like kind of like VeVe.
Right.
Like a lot of OGs try to get me into Virtua. I already knew about it a long time ago, but they're like launching land in their metaverse, and they're also doing. They also have like a showroom, I guess, already where you can like hang out in it.
Yeah.
I see the same thing with VeVe. I don't think it's going to be too much different from what we're already seeing. Um, at least the first iteration. You know, I don't know what the land's going to look like. I think was it projected maybe next year we'll probably see land, or that's what
Uh,
a consensus of what most people are saying. Yeah. So I think it's going to be like you said, just kind of like a basic iteration at first, an expansion of the showroom rather. I don't know what the future looks like because that's so far out, and it's going to come down to what VeVe wants to do in terms
yeah.
of how deep they want to take it. You know, if they want to do
Definitely.
super deep, you know, I could see them doing like what Facebook's doing, but or just utilizing their resources and making a metaverse in Meta, you know, in Facebook. So
No, I like that. And you're right. It's one of those things where Facebook have a lot more buying power, whether we like to admit that or not. I think that's just a fact. You know, they have a lot more employees they can hire, a lot more money that they've got just available to do. So whatever they're going to build, VeVe aren't going to be able to build it at the same scale. So it is the thinking could be in the future, you know, do they outsource that to someone like Disney if they are creating their own metaverse? Are they going to partner with other places that are going to bring it VeVe into that because they've got so many partnerships? Will they have that leverage to be able to push their foot in the door to these biggest companies in the world to expand whatever their VeVe-verse or metaverse reality is for them?
yeah, absolutely. So my daughter actually came in during the interview, so I was like shoo. But yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, no, yeah, totally. I agree. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see where it all goes. But also, like we are in a bear market. Like even Facebook suffering like tons of loss, like
Oh, yeah.
financial loss and heartache and maybe even talent loss. You know, having to let people go.
Yeah.
So I think they're gonna do as much as humanly possible. I think even Google and Apple. Um, I'm more curious to see what Disney's strategy is because they mentioned that they're not going to go like full VR. It's
Yeah.
going to be like I don't know, like an experience in
Uh-huh.
IRL. And like, I'm just thinking maybe it's going to be more in lines of just augmented reality. And maybe they do
Yeah. Yeah.
utilize like VeVe, for instance. Or maybe VeVe is like maybe more just interoperable with Disney.
Uh-huh.
I could see that for sure. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what they do. Typically, Disney does their own thing in general. Like it's gonna be with Disney Plus or something like that.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, like macro NFT land. What do you think is gonna happen there in terms of like what you're most bullish on? Are you bullish on, you know, let's say the collectible space? Are you bullish on utilities? Or are you bullish on like Web3 games and things like that? Or what's your thoughts on all of that?
I think a lot of things need to be fleshed out first. I do believe there's still many, many problems in different areas. You know, if we discuss the play to earn aspect of a lot of these games, their overall structure doesn't actually work. Most of them rely on new users coming in to make the old users more money. We've saw it in Axie Infinity. You could even take things like Stepping is the most recent maybe case of that sort of pyramid scheme ish way. So in that front, I think there's a lot of just core areas that need to be fleshed out. The collectible field, I do believe they're going to be successful in the NFT space, and that's what I believe anyway will be the most prevalent. I think that, and alongside bringing it into regular companies, if you just take example McDonald's monopoly, that could be made into NFTs. You know, that means that McDonald's can cut down on the amount of paper that are being used for Monopoly, and therefore everything's on their phone. More people are downloading the app. More people can get offers on the app. They're spending more money in McDonald's. It could make sense promotional wise and revenue wise. So for me, that sort of area is where I'm really excited for. There's a lot of places that NFTs just don't fit. And I think that's okay because they don't need to. They don't need to be everywhere. For instance, one of the things that I'm quite excited for as well that maybe isn't talked about a lot is the educational space. A lot of us buy courses or get into these communities and places. And at the end of it, if we find that it's completely worthless and it wasn't worth our time, then we can't do anything with it. The refund policy's gone. You can't get your money back, and therefore you've just spent a lot of money on something that's not really worth it. But if people had the opportunity to create a course and they were able to sell it as an NFT, and we'll take that for example, then it would sort of be backed up by the way people are talking about it and the price that people are selling it at, because then you have another area that you can actually analyze the um, positives of it. If someone bought your course originally and you sold 1,000 of these courses for $100 and they found this was life changing stuff, they wouldn't want to sell it on for $100. They would want to do it for more because they've got so much value out of it. And after people have completed it, then the creators can earn royalties. The person who's bought the course can then earn some money back from it. And someone else who's coming into it could potentially either get it for cheaper or, because it's so successful, have to pay more of a premium to get it. So for me, the educational space could actually offer some really good aspects for it.
Mm-hmm.
Those are areas I'm quite excited about for it. I don't believe NFTs need to fit into everything the way some people maybe want them to, but for me personally, those are the areas that I'm quite excited for anyway.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And definitely back to the monopoly example, that just makes sense, right? It's just like you cut
Uh-huh.
down like the environmental waste and like all this manufacturing, like cuts down on that. And I think we're still like early, especially now in the bear run. Like people are like, mainstream's like, oh my God, NFTs are a scam, and
Yeah,
like
yeah,
so it's probably a bad time to like launch this like massive
definitely.
PR campaign of like let's do NFT monopoly or the games. But I think, yeah, like long run, I think that's just gonna happen. It just makes sense, right? If you're McDonald's, you have a QR code, you just peel off the thing and you scan the QR code right there, boom, it's on your phone. And it's like, boom, you're ready to go play the Monopoly game, the boardwalk, like that's cool.
Yeah, yeah,
And people literally live and breathe on their phone. Like, I mean, everybody has a phone on them 24/7.
yeah.
And so it's just, to me, it's a no-brainer for stuff like that, for sure. Especially promotional, like we've seen VeVe do, the AMC, the promos there, and that just adds a layer to AMC. It's like now AMC can just get people a little bit more excited about to actually come back out to the movies from
Yep.
the pandemic, and get back really excited about that. Even if they don't really care about the NFT, they can still be like, oh, I get this free little promotional item, and if they want to, they can flip it for a couple gems on VeVe, whatever, right?
Uh-huh. Exactly.
Um,
It's that experience that people are getting from it. And that's the really important part. Now, of course, there's might be little unethical places there where I know a lot of people bought the AMC theater tickets and didn't even go. But at the end of the day, no one's really losing in that front. The theaters are still getting paid for the tickets that are being purchased. AMC are still getting paid for the promotions that they're doing. The people are getting what they were after by buying the ticket, which was the NFT. And therefore, VeVe are still being successful with it because the tickets are being bought for the promotion. So for me, it's that experience. What are people after for it? And as you said, people will go. I saw there was a VeVe meetup for Jurassic Park. I think it was Jurassic Park
yeah,
for
yeah.
people who bought the AMC theater tickets. That's amazing. That's absolutely incredible. I would love to be able to do that, but unfortunately, there's like no one in Scotland, and plus they don't do the promotions here.
Yeah.
But still, I think that's an awesome way to make an experience of something and make something that's a long lasting memory rather than just a fling of a promotional thing. Fill in this, you might win it. It's buy a ticket, come to the theater, meet some people who are enjoying the same thing that you do, watch a movie, hang out afterwards, and then you've got a lifelong experience to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. And I could see the promotion, like as you said, like through fast food. I think Burger King tried to do something there as well, recently. But yeah, I think the next like NFT bull run, we'll see more of that play out in. Yeah, it's just like as you mentioned, cuts down on all that. But I could see it benefiting the actual NFT platform as well. It's like if somebody had like Boardwalk, on the Monopoly game, like that's $1 million. It's like
Yeah, yeah.
that's gonna be like, oh my gosh. Obviously McDonald's would pay the tab, I'm sure. So in terms of geolocation, like what do you see there? Like how can these companies like VeVe or another platform, how can they utilize geolocation for events? Are you bullish on that aspect of it, or what's your thoughts on geolocation?
Talk to me a little bit further because I don't know if I'm following you exactly the way I would. So, what do you mean by the geolocation and getting the experience through that?
Yeah, yeah. So let's say you go to an event or meetup, kind of like with
Uh-huh.
Pokemon Go, where people would go to like the same park and you had this like chance to catch a Pokemon, or it was just a fun meetup for everybody. So in app, they would have like these events and geolocation type of things going on.
Okay.
But do you see VeVe, like they've talked about it, tease it in a couple AMAs where maybe, for instance, they use this as an example of like going to a Comic-Con event in
Yeah.
like say if you're in that geolocation area or the area, maybe you get a promotional NFT or something like
Okay.
that.
Okay.
What do you see in terms of that? Like, is that something you're kind of excited about? Maybe not so much. What's your thoughts on that?
That's something I'm incredibly excited for. I think businesses need to create experience. That's what makes you remember a business. If you buy a pair of Nike football boots and the first time that you wear them, you score a hat trick, you're going to remember that for the rest of your life. If you win the league with those boots and you felt that those boots changed the game for you, you're going to remember that experience. It's the same if you go to Disney World and you have an amazing time on the ride, you meet your favorite characters that you've ever known from Disney, you're going to remember that experience. So if a company can give you experiences as well as that feeling of community and that they care about you as a customer, you're going to go back to them time and time again. I actually am going to be going to Decon in September for the first time ever. Never been to Decon in my life. And I am so buzzing to go because I'm going to be able to meet people that are a part of VeVe. And I believe VeVe are going to be there too. So for me, that geolocation is going to be an amazing way, again, just like we've spoken about before, of bringing experience to the consumer, directly to the consumer. By being at the event, you're going to get this special reward for being there. You're going to be able to show off to everyone. And although a lot of people don't like Gary Vee and understand that he can be a bit full on, and there's some things I don't agree with that he sometimes says, he always speaks about how people in the future are going to represent themselves through their brand of what they own. So in your house at the moment, you could have a chandelier that you love, right? And that's what you talk to all your guests about when they come in and the story behind that.
Mm.
And just like TikTok or YouTube, you are expressing yourself through the videos that you create and the person that you are. And what he was saying that is in the future, we're going to express ourselves through what we own in our metaverse house, however you'd like to put it, in VR, what we own as collectibles, the brands that we follow. And we're going to be able to show that off through the person that we are. Because if we talk about Meta and what they're actually creating with Facebook, if that does come down the line 2, 3 decades where we are spending a lot of our time in there, just like we're spending a lot of time on our PCs or phones right now, then that expression of ourselves is going to come through the experiences that we have. So for you, if you still have your Todd McFarlane 30 years from now, you're going to be able to express yourself as an individual as I was someone who believed in VeVe when they first began, and I held this for 30 years. This is the type of person that I am. And I think geolocation and having those sorts of things of this is the experience I had. I remember that time. I remember being there because I still have that related to me. I have that NFT that I got for being there. These were the stories that happened there. That's something that will build an experience and will give you long lasting memories that I think you can't really match with anything else. You
Yeah.
get those through those. So for me, geolocation is something I'm really, really excited for. I'm hoping companies focus on that because again, that customer experience, that loyalty is built through the experiences that you're able to give them as a company. And for me, that's something that is an easy, easy route in to building that loyalty with your customers. What about yourself? Do you think on the same or you're a little bit different?
No, no, that's exactly right. Yeah, like there's the social currency part of it where it's like obviously a flex, but it's also that deeper meaning as well. Like you mentioned, it's just like I was there during these times, and it just
Yeah,
adds to the story of that item or collectible or whatever it is. It's like that adds value because that's a story. It's like it has significance now, and it's like it is
definitely.
important. And like you said, like, what we've seen in the macro NFT space, people doing exactly that. Like I was at the beginning of this NFT rush, and that's why I think a lot of these projects are doing so well is because it represents like the beginning of kind of this new era or renaissance, if you will. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm excited about signatures myself too. Is like,
Okay.
taking our NFT comics there and having it signed by like the actual artist or,
Yeah, yeah.
the cover artist or the inker or writer or whatever. So
Uh-huh.
I'm really excited about that part too, because I think that's going to add a whole new, it's going to open a, no, not a can of worms, the opposite of that. It's going to open like this treasure trove of like good stuff that's going to come from it. So you're gonna have to think about like there's gonna have to be a new grading system, or like
Yeah.
even VeVe on their side, they're gonna have to develop a lot of stuff on their end. Like, maybe you have to sort now by signatures. Signatures not
Uh-huh.
only with collectibles but for the comics too, and so that's going to be something interesting to see, because that's a feature in, as you know, with HR has it, I think, already kind of in there. I don't think you can actually get it signed right
Yeah, I'm not
now,
seeing it. I'm not saying that you can get it signed. But I
but
know
it's
that's
just like
definitely
a
something they're
grayed
hinting.
out.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
just
yeah.
like grayed out in there. But Immutable X allows for that, and that's like super exciting. So
Uh-huh.
I am interested to see like how that's gonna work
Yeah.
in terms of geolocation, that as well mixed with signature. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, that's gonna be pretty strong, and I'm
That
excited
will
about
be.
that. So
No,
yeah.
that will be. And it's as you said, it just adds another level. I still don't know how that verification process would go, how easy it would be, how smooth it would be, but the just the levels that could go to, you imagine just being able to get your favorite comic signed at an event you went to and decided to go to, where you met a lot of people and then you have that in your space. That's, again, it's just like you have a
Yeah.
painting on the wall that you've got a story behind. It's that painting on your phone that you've got a story behind, that you love so much, and you've got stories to tell about it. And we've we've been moving to our phones for the last, what is it, 2 decades, over just over
Mhm.
2 decades now. I don't think anyone can deny that this has been the case. People are glued to their phones, as you said. Everyone's got them at arm's reach. I've got mine charging right now, and I don't go on my phone that much, but I still know how powerful it has been. And we are moving to a place where we're going to spend the majority, or if we're not already spending the majority of our time, not in the real world. I don't know if you ever watched Black Mirror, but there's a lot of relevance there as to what the world is kind of moving toward and how we're going to spend most of our time. I think there's people who are going to get sick and tired of the real world that we're living in and wanting to live in a sort of second life that they can't physically die, and are able to do whatever the hell they want. And although it can be scary for a lot of people, I do think that's the kind of reality we're moving into. Uh, so
Yeah.
it will be really interesting to see sort of how social currency changes and shifts over the next few decades.
Yeah, yeah, it's super exciting. But yeah, it's like technically going back to the signature thing. It's like that's technically a utility. It's like because
Yeah.
now your NFT like gets you. Because I could see you'd have to own an NFT to meet the artist. I would imagine, right? You have to own
Yeah.
it for
Yeah.
them to sign it. So in terms of that, like it's like you kind of get that meet and greet. That's like
Uh-huh.
the cherry on top of having that comic or collectible, and getting it signed,
Yeah.
is that utility there. But in terms of the Black Mirror, I haven't actually seen that. A lot of people actually reference that a lot. I need to go
Oh
and
yeah.
actually watch it. But I do
Just
think
be
about,
prepared if you're going to watch it. Like, that's all I'm going to say.
yeah.
Just,
Um, but yeah, I've seen a lot of like, metaverse type movies, and even Ready Player One, which is one of my favorites.
oh
But
yeah, I love that.
I could see people being like way more wealthy in the metaverse too than their IRL like situations too, which
Oh
would
yeah.
be, obviously it's kind of synonymous these days because you can just flip and build your IRL wealth more so. But even
Yeah.
now, it's like people joke all the time. They're like, my crypto bags are really big. Like,
Ah.
they're like, it's more than my IRL like
Yeah.
fiat. So they'll compare directly crypto to fiat. It's like, oh, I'm fiat poor but crypto rich, and because people don't want to sell, some people just want to hodl. Totally
Yeah.
fine, or whatever your strategy is. Like, this not financial advice, blah blah blah. But yeah, so I could see that kind of expanding, and I think we've already seen it. It's like people with, even with NFTs now, it's like my NFT bag is like massive, but
Yeah.
IRL collectibles or in real life, like not so much. And I could see the same thing playing out, like as it continues to grow, the metaverse continues to like
Uh-huh.
unfold, and ultimately, like people are going to get wealthy from that anyways. And I think we're going to see it play. We're kind of already seeing it play out, and I think it's going to
Yeah. Yeah.
continue. So people are going to be like, "How did he get so rich?" It's like, dude, I'm rich in the freaking metaverse. What do you think? And yeah, yeah. So I am excited about that. The cons of all of it, I am kind of scared about like what could happen if
Yeah.
people get sucked in and that's like all they do, and they forget what, they don't know anything about nature or how to like
Uh,
do certain things in real life. Like that is kind of like one of the big drawbacks, and
yeah.
people already do it on PCs. Like people just game all day, for instance, and I myself, like I'm on my computer all day. That's like my
Uh,
job, my YouTube channel. So I do have to take a second step back and go outside or take the entire weekend off and just, just go relax in nature. So
Yeah.
I think companies like Niantic are going to definitely lead the way in that, though. That's going to be like their whole sales pitch. Are you bullish on like the AR metaverse, or what you call the AR, like what people would call the AR cloud? Like, what's your thoughts on that?
And is that in terms of like Google Glass, that sort of stuff, where you're going out and you're
Hmm.
able to see everything
Yeah, yeah. So
in that
Niantic's
instance?
Yeah, so Niantic's launching theirs. Obviously, we'll see Google Glass, Apple
Yeah,
Glass,
yeah,
but I think one of the leaders in terms of games and things we'll see, like on, I guess on an entertainment scale, we'll see a lot from Niantic, I think. But
yeah.
what's your thoughts on all that?
I like that more than the virtual reality personally. I think I remember the Pokemon Go craze. I was out every single night. Every night we were walking for miles all the time. And I think that's a really good balance of ensuring people are getting out, living a healthier manner. Every single, I was going to swear there, every single study is backed up by like getting healthier by walking at least like X amount per day, being physical for 60 minutes a day. And as you said, there's a lot of people right now who are currently just sitting 7 hours a day playing games when they're getting home from work and don't do anything else. I think this gives the people the ability of actually still traveling, still doing things that they're enjoying, getting experience outside, but also being, engrossed in this different sort of reality. Now, of course, there's definitely drawbacks. Pokemon Go had its drawbacks. A few people did die when they were playing the game because they went places they shouldn't have went. I understand, but at the end of the day, you're never going to have a perfectly fitting model. Everything has its downfalls. Everything has some form of negative alongside it. So, to me, I do lean more towards wanting to explore this more AR side of things rather than sitting in your chair and just having the VR headset and then you're just sitting there for 7 hours. The amount of negative health benefits that's going to have will be drastic. And I think if that does become reality, it's going to quickly turn into like Wally, where we're all sitting on like the chairs and we're all just floating about because we can't stand up.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
for me, I
I
would.
love I love that movie, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good movie,
It's good,
but I
dude. It's
think
good. Yeah.
that would be like the reality
It
if
would
we were to
be.
go to VR. Like I do believe in 50 years, the majority of people would be overweight and wouldn't be able to do regular things that we should be able to do just because of where we're at. So yeah, for me, I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, yeah. Same thing there. Like VR, the idea sounds really amazing, and obviously like tons of people have them, the Oculus and like all the VR stuff nowadays, and it's like super affordable and all that good stuff. In terms of VR, but yeah, it's interesting to see. Like, I don't know, when I watch, you know, people stream like the VR thing, it just like they just kind of look like a robot. Like it's just like so I don't know. I have like three monitors in front of me, right? And so it's almost like I'd rather just use my mouse and keyboard to control everything. Like I feel like
Yeah.
I'm in control. I'm okay if I don't have this like thing strapped in and it like
Uh,
it feels immersive. I'm like I'd rather just have three monitors and do it more manual. Like I'm like
yeah, yeah.
kind of like Dozer in the Matrix. He's back there on the monitors like reading the Matrix.
Uh,
Like dude, that's like me. Like I don't want to be in the Matrix. Like I want to be in control of it. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And I do want to get a VR headset. Not to say like I'm against it or anything like that. I do want to play games. I do want to like meet up with people in the metaverse. So I'm more bullish on the community aspect of VR
Okay.
and like, going to these like virtual events. Like that's cool. And
Yeah, yeah.
but again, like I might just want to do that on my computer and just have my little avatar on a screen, just like a video game that I play on my computer.
Uh,
So there's those. That's how I feel about it. Now AR, really excited about that. I feel like not only will that be fun, not only in games and entertainment, but education as well. Because now you're talking about kids or, students and whatever, putting on the glasses, going to maybe a museum and getting that more immersive experience. And like, for me in my culture, I come from being Native American. So,
uh,
learning about that in a new immersive way would be massive. And
yeah.
you can bring in like, it's like you go to let's say the Cherokee Museum, like that's a big one here in my state. And you go to the museum and all of a sudden like all these, a lack for better words, all these like characters pop up, or Native Americans, and they're showing you how to like weave a basket, or like,
Uh-huh.
or it'll tell you the story of like what happened during these times. Like that would be epic. That would be like
Yeah,
this
that would be
huge
very cool.
immersive educational experience that like right now it's like you have to go there, you have to learn, you have to read about it, and
Yeah, yeah.
like some people just aren't good at learning in that specific way. Like some
Uh-huh.
people, actually most humans aren't necessarily like great at reading text, and
Yep.
people are more visual, and that's kind of like how humans were kind of designed. Like we're very visual based, and so I'm really bullish on like those educational sides too. But like as far as games, like I could just see like a Yu-Gi-Oh popping up and being like, there's two people meeting out in this like like field, and they're like, I'm bad, I summon Exodia, and it's just like like dude, that stuff is so exciting to me, and
Yeah,
I'm super excited about that. And like as you mentioned, there always going to be cons no matter what you do. Like
of
video
course.
games, it's like, oh, you're sitting down too long, or like remote work, oh, you're sitting down too long. It's like, but there's all these benefits too. So it's like you
Yeah.
always have to weigh them and navigate. It's just like driving a car. It's like everybody does it every day almost. You buckle in, you still drive the car. You still go
Yeah, exactly.
to the gas or petrol station, whatever. And there is a risk there. You could get in a car wreck. Like life has the cons, right? You might die any
Yeah.
day. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Like just living is like has a pro and a con, right?
Uh-huh.
So yeah, I totally agree there. But man, that was a good one, man. I know we're a little bit over the hour here, and
Holy crap, it went fast.
yeah,
I didn't even
dude.
realize the time.
Any final thoughts or like anything you wanted to bring up here at the end of, or
Honestly, no, I think we covered it all. I just want to thank you so much for having me on. It's always a blast when you get to talk to more people and just chat about everything that's been going on. So
no
yeah, thank you
doubt,
so much.
man. We'll have to get into some other topics the next time and
Oh, for sure.
reassess like like NFT macro and NFT, even NFT games. I think you're a gamer, right? Like obviously you
Yeah,
already
yeah.
have the setup going on and all that cool stuff. So I see the keyboard, the light up keyboard. So I'm like, yo, he's a gamer, man. So we'll have to talk about that too, because that's a
Definitely.
huge whole different sector and a whole different topic to dive into and
Uh-huh.
explore. So, but man, I appreciate you coming on. It was a pleasure. I appreciate you. Where can people find you?
Uh, Two best places are definitely Twitter or YouTube. That's the places I'll be the most. To be honest with you, I'm not extremely active on a lot of places just purely because I like to do a lot of work in the background and I don't tend to, put it everywhere. That's just the way I sort of have been. But yeah, if you do want to chat with me, Twitter's usually a good place to find me and I'll be able to respond when I've got some time.
So, what's your handle on Twitter? And don't let Andy downplay you. He's got a YouTube channel with a decent amount of subscribers. Grew really fast, popped off quick. But yeah, what's your Twitter handle?
Andrew Ellis with 2 underscores. I believe that's my Twitter handle.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and you'll be able to find me there.
Sweet. All right. Well, man, I'll link it in the description below for anybody curious to go check out Andy, what he's doing. Amazing content creator. And like I said, thanks for tuning in, watching this podcast. We'll catch you in the next one. And as always, be like an NFT, be authentic, and we'll catch y'all later. Peace.